that I think is so beautiful. Item number M82385. It's the three-piece reblooming German iris for $34.25. Your easy pay is $11.42 on this. And this is a perennial as well. And talk about something that is so unique. Phillip, is this the one that's your favorite one?
It's my favorite perennial of all time. And my mother tells a story, that when I was a baby in the stroller, one was hanging out over the sidewalk and I pointed to it and I said
Oh.
pretty. And I still think they're pretty. And there's that immortality. That white one, by the way, is the oldest and the very first of the rebloomers. And then you have your traditional blue one, which is the Victoria Falls. And that was the color daylily that I pointed to. Now, these are on a garden that I designed in Greenwich, Connecticut, and they're blooming this much in the fall and in the spring. That's what these do. They bloom in the spring like my grandmother's did, but they also do it in the fall, and my grandmother didn't have those, but we do. They are just as easy as any other iris, and I've got these nice big blooms, and here's my representation of the colors and the blooms that you're gonna have, and also the foliage. Like the reblooming daylilies that we offered just before this, the irises typically would have ugly foliage after they quit blooming in the spring. They would start to die down. But this foliage, it keeps sending up new foliage all the time. And I'm shipping you out. Look, this is a nice big plant.
That sure is.
It's good to go, you see. And it's easy to plant. They don't like mulch, so don't put any mulch on it. Full sun to the slightest bit of shade. Just don't put it in a wet area.
Okay.
But the three varieties that you get are these beautiful colors that we're showing here: the apricot, the white, the lavender blue. And if you buy irises online, they'll typically send out bare root. If you get them in the nursery, they're in a big pot. And I'm telling you what, the plant's not going to be as good as this one.
Right.
These are going to rock. You'll love these in the garden, and they're fragrant. And that's what won me over. A lot of people don't know because it's subtle, but once you smell it, it smells like nothing else. People always say, oh, this smells like that. This smells like that. No, this just smells like iris.
Right.
And it's fabulous.
I love that. So we started the season out with about 6,000 of these. That's how many we were able to get. We're down to 700 for the season. That is it. And I know sometimes, Phillip, when people think about their garden, they think about planting. I have a good friend of mine who's a gardener as well, and he plants usually all around like Mother's Day. That's when he's starting to get all of his plants in, maybe a week or two before then, depending. He lives in Connecticut as well. So he always makes kind of Mother's Day weekend his weekend, or, maybe a week or two, give or take there. That's always when he is starting to plant in his garden. So if you are thinking about, okay, what am I going to get and when am I going to start planting? You don't have to worry about that. We do that for you. We're going to send these to you when they're ready for you to plant. So you don't have to worry about that. So just start to prepare now. Start to think about how you're going to lay this out, whether you're going to have this in a container, whether it's going to be in the yard. You start doing that preparation. So when your flowers come, you're ready to go. Because listen, spring it may not feel like spring today. We're getting some flurries here. We're getting flurries here today, Phillip.
I know.
What's happening?
Well, I don't know, but spring's still going to happen. And this is a very long-lived perennial. The German irises are. And they show up on old house sites and things like that. And I have always loved these. I use these in gardens in Colorado. I use them in Mississippi. It's one of the most cold hardy of all the perennials.
Nice.
And the fact that this blooms in the spring and big time in the fall. I mean, not just a little bit, but big time in the fall. And you've got this beautiful foliage all summer long. It never looks ratty like the one-time blooming irises. Never looks ratty. It always looks handsome to you. And they will come back year after year, even if you leave them in a container in Aspen, Colorado. Expect them to come back. And full sun to the slightest bit of shade. And there's the apricot silk. And that's one of the most sought after colors. There, by the way, there's a rose called, what is it? At Last. That is real similar in color to that. So if you like that apricot color, that's a good one for you to pick up. And immortality, that's the oldest and the very first of the reblooming irises. And it was discovered in an old cemetery.
Wow.
And they've named it Immortality. It's pure white. just heavenly. And
Yeah.
it is the best of all the rebloomers. I see it in old gardens around here in Westchester, Pennsylvania. And then the traditional lavender blue one is the Victoria Falls. And you see
So
when the
pretty.
light comes through that, it's like the perfect sky day.
So pretty.
Again, it's beautiful fragrance on these and the gorgeous sculptural foliage. I've got pictures of the irises in my last book where they're not even blooming, but the foliage looks like something nice and spiky. I like to have texture in my garden. And
Mm-hmm.
this adds the texture, where a yucca might, except that you're going to have the blooms on it. I'd rather have this beautiful foliage and the bloom.
So, Philip, how big, when I get one of these, how big is one
Yes,
going to get? So I know how far to plant
I
them
plant
apart if I put them in the ground.
I plant mine about a foot and a half or 2 feet apart because they will fill in. A foot and a half is that you can have an instant filling in. And
Mm-hmm.
so that's the way that's going to work. And I also in full sun, and these will get, they'll be about 2 to 2.5 feet tall, including the blooms. So
Nice.
it's quite manageable. The foliage looks nice all the way down to the ground. And I plant my irises either in a dedicated pot or in a dedicated plot because I don't mulch these. They don't like mulch. So don't plant them any deeper than they are in the pot.
Right.
And they're just unto themselves. They earn their keep because you've got that sculptural foliage, you've got the blooms in the spring and the fall. And also, being big flowers like this, I have mine back on the back part of the property. And I feel safe by having it on the back part of the property
Yeah.
because guess what? The deer will never touch them. Never.
Right.
Never.
Right.
They
They
will
are
eat
deer
gravel
resistant. Yep.
before they will eat this.
That's so great.
So,
Love that. Love that they're deer resistant. I'm telling you, the deer world is new to me here. So only about 600 left. That is it. 600 left for the
3 years to get them
season.
in.
And it took 3 years for Philip to bring these to us. So don't wait. This is your perennial. So remember, this is going to grow back every year. And if it took him three
Yes.
years for him to even bring these to us, this is the time to pick them up. If you've been waiting on them, we have them this season, and we don't know if we're going to have them next season. So get them in right now. Again, start to plan your garden out. Again, Philip, I'm such a big fan of flowers and being outdoors. It just makes me feel so good, especially going into spring and summer. And you look at
Yes.
the fruits of your labor, right? You sit back and you just watch all these beautiful flowers start to bloom. Sometimes you even forget what you planted. So it's nice to go, oh my gosh, I did plant those German irises. Or, oh yeah, I did do the hibiscus. Oh yeah, the hydrangeas. Like, it's so nice to be able to watch all of that grow and to experience gardening like you did with your mom and your grandma. Like, that's what it's about. Like
Yes.
I did with my mother. She loved plants, loved gardens, like I plan on doing by helping out my aunt, getting her some flowers for her garden that she can handle. So that's what it's about when you get things in your garden. It's just fun. People are going to start to come over. You want that curb appeal to be on. Bold, beautiful colors this season. Like Philip said, we're staying away from the pastels because now we're starting to get together for sure. So you want to be able to greet people with these gorgeous, bold, and beautiful colors in your garden. Okay, Philip,
Yes.
the iris. Let's go
Yes,
over the
ma'am.
3 colors one more time in this set because I think they're
Okay.
so pretty.
Good. And I do just love these.
Yeah.
And so we got the 3 colors. You see the beautiful apricot silk right there. And again, that is one of the most sought after colors. I also had a peony on that was in earlier this season that is in that same color range too. But apricot silk, very fragrant. And see that orange part there? That's called
Mm-hmm.
the beard. It's called the beard. And then the petals that hang down, those are called the falls. And then the part that stands up, see on the immortality, the part that stands up, those are called the standard. The standards, the beard, and then the falls. Those are the
Nice.
3 parts of the iris bloom.
Wow.
And immortality, snow white, shows up at night. You can see it from a distance, and it shows up in the fall when it's blooming, and also in the spring when it's welcoming in spring. And
Nice.
then the 3rd color we have is this traditional bluish lavender Victoria Falls. It's an old-fashioned color on a newfangled plant because the old-fashioned ones bloom the one time, and this one will just carry on with new blooms and new foliage. It's
So
always fresh. The deer are not going to touch it.
people are
And
ordering
see, I've
this
got
one. They love it. How many picked up? I think we
I'm
have
telling you,
650. How many left? 5? 550 left on this one. And
These
remember,
are
we started off
fabulous.
with about 700. So 550
And honey,
left.
look at this pie.
So remember,
Look at this
6,000. And we're down to our final 550 left on this, Phillip. Oh my gosh, we're done, Phillip.
Out in this
That
pie.
was it.
All winter.
We're done.
You can have them out. Oh,
I know.
I'm not ready to go.
I know.
Phillip.
Look who's joining me.
Oh, there's my
Yay!
birthday
Mary Beth is coming up, and you're still in the garden, right?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, 2 hours of in the garden with Mary Beth. That's going to be exciting. Phillip, thank you so much for
Yes.
joining me. This was so great.
Thank you. I
That
thoroughly
was fun.
enjoyed it. My
I
pleasure.
did too. I
Next
learned
time.
so much. So that was fun. I'm back here tomorrow night at 9 p.m. Thanks for shopping with me this afternoon, but we got more in the garden. It's time to start planning your spring and summer garden. That's all I got, Mary Beth.
All right.
I know. Have a good night, everyone. We're taking a quick break.